very good. Hello, everybody. My name is John Murcott, and I actually didn't raise my hand, Nick, when you asked, are you a technology person or a business person? Because I grew up as a programmer. I worked at Anderson Consulting a long time ago, and did a lot of hands-on programming in C and Corn shell scripting, kind of old school programming. But now I'm on the business side. So I raise money from venture capitalists, and I close enterprise deals. So I didn't know exactly how to answer your question, but the intersection can be interesting. So I hope, as I'm going through this presentation, I'd rather not bore you with a bunch of slides. If anything sparks interest, just ask me right away. Don't have to wait to the end. We'll just jump in. I have this up just half as a joke. As Richard was saying, I do feel a little bit like a grandfather of content management. I know not all of this is about Drupal. It's just kind of more technology in general. But FatWire, the company that Richard was talking about, we started in '96. And I started with my best friend in his parents' house. People often talk about starting a business in the garage. We literally started above the garage. It was just 3 programmers in a room. And we were lucky enough to get a contract with IBM that I managed directly. And as I was saying, kind of the technology and the business, I'd be on the phone with the client from IBM just literally working on HTML pages, the things we were talking about, the unfortunate situation that Stony Brook's in now, where literally there's just thousands of HTML files on a file server. That was exactly the issue with IBM. They just had thousands of these HTML files, and I was just one of the webmasters that needed to make updates and changes to those files. And anytime someone wanted to make a change to the website, they would call me. I would make the change, deploy it to their production environment. And we figured there must be a better way. So that was the initial early stage content management companies. As a matter of fact, a lot of the companies that started back then were actually document management companies. Because they said, well, we work with lawyers, and lawyers have a lot of Word documents. So websites are just like a bunch of documents, except they're HTML files. They're not Word documents or anything like that, or PDF files. So, oh, that's how you're going to manage your website. You're just managing a bunch of files. We had some insights that said, well, it's not exactly like that. You really should separate the content, put it in the database, and use templates for displaying it. So anyway, this is 20 years ago. You were joking, 4 years gone by. Just imagine 20 years going by. It gets a little freaky. So the other part of the story is, as we were going through FatWire, we raised a bunch of money. So we raised $36 million from venture capitalists in New York City, mainly, but also Long Island. And we did a number of acquisitions. We acquired a company called Open Market, which is a real high flyer. During the internet bubble, it had a market cap of $2 billion, and we bought it out of bankruptcy. So from a product perspective, if you want to just get a general idea of what you could imagine this is like, when you buy it out of bankruptcy, you can't look at anything. You can't look at the code. You can't look at any of the technology. It's just as is. It's like buying a car at an auction. You can't look under the hood. But we figured, look, $2 billion market cap. This must be a really good piece of software. It turned out... What's that? I'd have some gems in there somewhere. Yes. Well, the gems were definitely not in the technology, and it was all in the customer base. So the good news is we took a company at that time that was doing $10 million in sales a year, and we acquired a company that was doing like $30 million a year. So anyway, it was very good for the business, but we literally had to call up all the customers and say, just so you know, we don't really have full access to the source code, but we are 100% confident that we're going to be able to get you up and running. And I know you've been really pissed because the company went in bankruptcy. As a matter of fact, believe it or not, there was another company that acquired this company, Open Market. It was called Divine. I don't know if anyone ever heard of this gentleman named Flip Filipowski. He made, I think it was $100 million selling some software to Computer Associates. And he said, I want to create the next IBM. So he acquired a whole bunch of technology companies, got that. He raised $750 million, and then that went bankrupt. So when I say we bought it out of bankruptcy, we bought it out of Divine for bankruptcy. So anyway, it was a painful process getting it up and running, but the great news was Oracle kept losing in sales deals to us, so we would be up against Oracle and a couple of other big infrastructure companies. We were all J2EE, so we fit very well in the Oracle stack, and they eventually just said, we're just going to buy you guys. So that's was the outcome of the business. But what I thought could just be interesting to talk about a little bit is after we sold that, we started a new company called Crowdster. And Crowdster is a peer-to-peer engagement platform. So it does peer-to-peer and it does gamification. I'll get into some specifics in a second what that means. So I thought what just could be interesting to talk about for a couple of minutes is where does content management, a CMS system, begin, and where does peer-to-peer end or begin, and how can the two come together? And then number two, what is the difference between personalization and gamification? So if you just bear with me a little bit, I can go through and explain a little bit what that means. But just to quickly, because I looked that Nick was actually doing demos, I will do the same thing. I'm actually just connected to my phone here, but I think the connection's been pretty good. This is exactly what we do. So Notre Dame has a big fundraising event they do every year, and it's called Notre Dame Day. This is on our QA server, by the way. It's not the live site, so there's dummy data. On that day, they raised $2 million. It's a super important day for them because they get so much activity and so much social media engagement, et cetera. And they've used 3 different platforms in the past. So we are the 4th vendor they've tried to use to pull off this project. And the bottom line is the homepage and the information that you see on the homepage is exactly what you would expect to do in Drupal. It's just a homepage. You can upload content, put a video, etc. But they want to raise money through peer-to-peer. They don't want to just send out an email blast and say, hey, everybody, if everyone can give us $10 each, like crowdfunding, if everyone can give us $10 each, we'll get to $2 million if we get that many users. What they want to do is to leverage the networks of individuals who care about this cause. So what they want is not just for you to give some money, they want you to give some money and get involved. And the second part to this is gamification. They want you to vote. Because the way this works is the $2 million that's raised, all of it goes to one activity. And there's 500 different groups that are all vying for that $2 million. So the list here is just the list of all what they call them areas of interest. So it's the rugby team, it's the certain dorm, it's the basketball team, etc. So they're trying to raise money, but the bottom line is when you put the money in, you get a certain number of votes. You apply those votes to a specific area of interest, and whichever area of interest raises the most money, they get all $2 million. So it's a very high-stakes game.
The rugby team can end up with $2 million?
Exactly. It's pretty crazy. It's a winner-takes-all, 100% winner-takes-all. So can you imagine getting 500 separate groups with students, faculty, etc., all pushing for their team to win? But what we wanted to add to it was peer-to-peer. They never had that before. So what does the peer-to-peer part mean? It means everyone who participates gets a page. So this is a little bit of what I was talking about, where does content management begin, which is all the stuff that we saw on the home page here, and where does peer-to-peer kind of kick off. So I have my own page. So it's on our QA server, but in any case, I have my own page here. I tell people to come to my page, and it shows everyone what I am voting for. So when I share on all the various tools, I am sharing my page. I'm not sharing that home page. I'm sharing my page. So here, I'm sharing this. I'm sharing my own personal URL, and I'm sharing what I voted for. So I just for fun, I voted for the rugby team here. So the point is, normally if you think how Google Analytics works on a website, you kind of have all the activity going to the home page, and maybe people go off to other sites. In this model, there are literally going to be 50,000 individual peer-to-peer pages, all with their own little activities, because I'm sending emails to my friends and I'm posting on Facebook and Twitter, all driving activity to my local page, showing people what I'm doing, and then they get inspired to say, you know, I'll do the same thing. I'll vote for rugby as well. And all the rugby teams, or all the other teams like rugby, are reaching out to all their people saying, come in and make a page. So it's tricky because most of the time, content management tools don't necessarily support this level of sophistication for peer-to-peer. Like, for example, FatWire, this is old technology, I admit. You couldn't submit content from the production environment, even if you wanted to do like a contact us form. I know it sounds ridiculous. You couldn't, because the production environment was only for delivering content. That was it. You could not submit anything. There was no way to take it from the production environment and send data back to behind the firewall. It was a very old school model. You manage stuff behind the firewall, you push it outside the firewall, and that was it. Now the gamification part comes in, which I was saying before, why is someone going to do that? Why would someone do this? Why am I going to make a page? It takes a little bit of time. It's not that much time. That content management UI is pretty simple. I can just fill out some fields. You have to give an incentive. You have to have some type of gamification. You get points. Your area of interest is going to get $2 million. So the combination of the two is what drives a lot of the value. You get the personal communication. I reach out to my network of friends and drive them to my page in order to help Notre Dame, but I get something. In this case, I get votes. On other projects we do, for example, you get badges. So we do a lot with Major League Baseball. We're an approved vendor. And in that case, we have a lot of gamification in different ways. One of the big ways we do it are through teams. So once again, this is on a QA server. This is a project from the past. So when you register for this, it actually asks you what is your favorite team, what position did you play, etc. But the point is, when you get your page, all the activity that you drive, money that you raise, shares that you do, etc., all go to either the National League or the American League, and then they use that to get people excited. Also, it gives you badges. So the point is you start as a rookie, then you're an all-star, then you're an MVP. So the more activity you do, the more points you get, the more incentives you have, and then that can be converted into, when you attend the game, you would get a baseball hat or a T-shirt or something like that. Okay? So that's just, you know, some of the examples for what we do in the actual technology here. One other thing I just like to say, now I'm just going to go back into a couple of concepts here. For gamification, it's probably a concept people have heard, but it's often misunderstood because people just think it means, oh, just try to turn the things that you're asking people to do into a game, which is not what gamification is, and it's not what we do. It's actually, we're more like drug dealers. The reason why people play games and the reason why people get excited about playing games, especially little kids like the girl that was here before, is that your brain releases endorphins when certain things happen. When you win something, when you accomplish something, when you have a little bit more than the other person, that competitive nature, and it just makes you feel good. You feel good to win. You feel good to get a little reward. You feel good when you get a little incentive. So gamification just means, can I take something that is otherwise not fun, otherwise not interesting, and just give that little extra incentive. It doesn't mean it's a game. So for example, if you're looking at your LinkedIn profile, you would never be able to tell that little girl that when you get older, there's this thing called a LinkedIn profile, and if you update all of your info, you're in the top 10% of all of the profiles on the site. That's not fun. No child would think that's a game. But if you tell people, hey, you're in the top 23% of your network, there's just something in our brains that releases that little endorphin that says, oh, I can get to 20%, you mean, if I do this, this, and this? So that's kind of the underlying concept of what gamification is. It's not turn things into games. It's give people little reward for doing things that they otherwise would not want to do. So anyway, those are the two things we do. We do peer-to-peer and we do gamification. I thought I could just quickly do a review of the way that Oracle analyze the acquisition of FatWire, and since there are a lot of Drupal people here, you might find it a little interesting to see what the evolution was of what they call WEM, the Web Experience Management. So when the Oracle sales guys are out there, they're talking about Web Experience Management, and all that means is one thing: how persuasive is your website? Because does it sell? Does it get people to buy stuff? Does it drive e-commerce? That's really what the bottom line is. And when FatWire started, this is in the early 90s, it just meant the problem that Stony Brook has now. You just have a massive number of HTML files that are sitting on a file server, and you need to get control of it. So FatWire addressed that, as I was saying before. We started with IBM and solved that problem. The second one is really more where Drupal is now. It's power users, so people that know a little bit more than your typical web user, but is not an HTML programmer, not a webmaster, can now log in and make updates to their website, right? So the bottom line there is you have more people that are business-oriented that can control the website. Nothing against technology people here, but you don't necessarily think like, how do I make the website more persuasive? It's really more about all of the underlying infrastructure and technology from Docker. So that content gets a little bit more persuasive because business people are driving the content. Actually, I can even go through here. There's your webmaster. There's your business user. until you get to the third generation. And this is when Oracle bought the company, because we had a product called Engage. And Engage was a personalization tool, which meant a marketing person could create a rule that says when this person comes to the website, I want to show them this content, and then I'm going to analyze it. Did they buy it? So, for example, if they purchase something that is expensive, I'm going to put them as a category as a high net worth person. The next time they go to another page on my website, I'm going to show them more expensive products, for example, the personalization side. And that's what they couldn't beat it. They didn't have that technology. But they came back to us recently and said, but what's next? What comes after personalization? The answer, of course, is Crowdster, which I'm trying to convince them to buy the company. And the idea there is the most persuasive content doesn't come from the webmaster. Once again, nothing personal. Number two, business users in the organization, not really. Marketing users, yeah, they understand. I mean, they know how to target. Like, oh, I understand my users, and I'm trying to target certain stuff. The most persuasive content is peer-to-peer. I tell my friend to do something. Why does anyone practically do anything? Because someone told them you should do it, right? So for donating, nonprofits want you to tell your friend. They don't want to like send an email blast, because even if it's the most worthy cause you ever saw, you're helping starving people, people will just delete it. But if your friend said, hey, I'm doing this fundraiser, I'm doing the, what was it, ice bucket challenge. It's like, oh, my friend's doing ice bucket challenge, I'll do the ice bucket challenge too. That's where the value of this is. So the persuasiveness of this content is super, super high. The problem, though, is you're talking about tens, if not hundreds of thousands of users, right? Most Drupal implementations, my guess is, even probably at Stony Brook, maybe there'll be 100 users, maybe more. But there's not going to be every student on the university is going to be using it for promoting, you know, the university. Imagine if the university turned it around and said, we're not going to spend any more time on admissions. We're just going to give a discount to every student that gets another top student from a high school. Just imagine what the difference would be from the perspective of marketing. So I could spend all my marketing dollars trying to like go to every school and tell the students how great Stony Brook is. Or I could just tell every student that's already there, you'll get $5,000 off next month's tuition if you get another student from your high school or something like that that meets a certain criteria, right? What's that? Yes. And those students would be very engaged. They would know so much because they're learning from their friend, right? What are you going to do? You always ask your friend. Same thing like with a movie. You look on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, what do other people say that are similar to me? You don't necessarily go to New York Times, A.O. Scott, who's a super smart guy, but he probably likes really ridiculous movies that no one really wants to see. So it's that peer-to-peer element to it. But it is scary, because from a marketing user's perspective, from a marketing person's perspective, it's like, I lost control of the message. Like, I don't know what the students at Stony Brook would actually tell their friends. It might be like, oh, something about the girls or the partying or something like that, but it's very persuasive. It's going to work. So anyway, it's a crazy environment. It's a crazy situation. Plus, of course, the obvious things: the device changes because now you're on mobile, whereas before everything was on your desktop, and all of the activities happening in production. It also works in corporations. So Ford is also a customer. So Ford wants people to buy their new models of trucks. And they send out email blasts. They do social media advertising. Learn about the F-150, the Ford Fusion, all these cool things. And they make these very nice videos. They are actually pretty compelling. And no one wants to watch them. So what they do is they just said, OK, if you get your friends to watch this, you have a chance to win a free car. And the point is, we're very clear. We tell you what you should do. Because what you may know sweepstakes, these things come out every once in a while. It's like, hey, end of year sales event. So it's like, hey, register to win. So you fill out a form, you register to win. By the way, you're going to get a call from like the local Ford dealer 100 times that month. But in any case, you submit that, and then I say, just a minute, thank you very much. We'll let you know if you won, which you know you're never going to win. This gives you a page. You log back in and say, well, how am I doing? You know, we have a little gas gauge here. It's like, how am I doing? Like, well, you're on empty. You got to like watch more videos or get more other people to watch the videos. And it is definitely worth Ford to give away a couple free cars in order to get people like him to reach out and tell other people, hey, you should watch this video. This was actually from another presentation. We also work with Autism Speaks. And to give you an idea, when I was saying a lot of people are creating these pages, in this one, we actually got up to 62,000 participants in 1 month that made a page, like the page we were looking at before. So just imagine an army of 62,000 people promoting your cause, trying to raise money, telling friends to watch this video, uploading pictures, etc. Anyway, I think this could be the interesting touch point where the CMS, Drupal, is driving your classic content, especially images, which is probably one of the more common things that business people manage on the Drupal side, and then connect it. You click on this person's page, and you see their peer-to-peer page. Maybe that's where the intersection is. And then this is the only thing I could find about FatWire. This was an international business, and Japan still had something on personalization. I thought I should just highlight it because, as I was saying before, the idea of personalization is this is all your web content, and these are different people that are seeing different content served up by the system, right? These are different recommendations. So you're looking at the same page, but you're getting different content based on your profile or something else you did or whatever the personalization rule is. And you might say, wow, that is a really good way to get people connected because this content is perfect for them, and this content is perfect for them, and this content is perfect for them. But is that indeed the best? Maybe the best way to do it is to do gamification, so DirecTV is a customer as well. Maybe the best way to do it is to say, you will get points. So this is an internal application that DirecTV uses where it says, this is number 1, and it shows, well, this person's not that bad, is in 24th place. But in any case, it's really clear. You are in the bottom % of the list of all the people that are playing in this game. And the funny thing is, it's actually a learning application, so the most boring thing on the planet is training. No one wants to take training. But if you say, if you're in the top 10, you get a Friday off once a month. Guess what? Everyone's into training at that point. So what's better, personalization, so targeting people so that you get them engaged, or you'll get something. You are going to get something if you do this, or you get points. So you're constantly generating these points, so you get that little drug addiction. So it's like, I got to get more points. I got to get more points so I can get in that top 10%. And that's it. I went quickly because I know it's getting late.
Right under the wire. That was fantastic. Thank you so much.
So, yeah. Thank you.